Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Cleo Bonny Zamedunga, a master's student of international relations, supervised by Professor Amsan Larry. My topic on the research that I'm doing is an analysis on South African foreign policy towards the United Nations Security Council permanent seat reformation. I'm going to give you guys the general background. You'll be able to read, I think, from those guys that are sitting at the back. The United Nations is known as the brain box, or we call it or the black box of the United Nations Security Council. Is in line with this establishment is in line with Chapter 5 of the organization's charter. You know, the reason why the United Nations Security Council exists is because it's to prevent another war. As we all know that there was World War II, and it's just to prevent that there's not going to be any annihilation of the global systems. So I'm going to go over it. The position of South African foreign policy towards the United Nations Security Council reform, South Africa's hegemonic ambition in Africa remains imprecise, or another word that can be used is vague. What also has defined foreign policy as government's actions and plans in dealing with external environment in order to achieve the domestic needs or the domestic interests, as we understand. Hence, this dissertation seeks to analyze the South African foreign policy towards meeting the criteria required by the United Nations Security Council permanent seat before contemplating of going to exaltate position. The problem statement of this research, there is, at the moment, there is no African state that has any permanent seat or veto power in the United Nations Security Council. As we know that the 5 members, permanent members, Dreyer and Freelander have also confirmed that permanent members of the United Nations Security Council trade their votes with the principal organ of the United Nations Security Council in order to receive favorable treatment from various international financial institutions under the control of veto power or the permanent seat, which are twin privileges that the permanent members that have. It is the intention of this research to analyze the possibility of South Africa to be a member of the United Nations Security Council based on Eswatini consensus. Sorry. All right. The research questions, or my research questions on this study, is in line with the research objectives, and this dissertation seeks to answer the following questions. First of all, what has been the South African foreign policy position towards United Nations Security Council reform? How has South Africa's hegemonic role or influence in Africa shaped African countries' position towards United Nations Security Council reform and Africa's permanent inclusion in the United Nations Security Council? Does South Africa meet the criteria to be included as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council? My objectives of the study is to analyze the South African foreign policy position towards the United Nations Security Council, to examine the manner in which South Africa's hegemonic role in Africa will assist in the quest for permanent inclusion in the United Nations Security Council, to analyze whether South Africa meets the requirements or the criterion of the United Nations Security Council for permanent membership inclusion, The aims of this research or the study is to analyze South African foreign policy towards the United Nations Security Council and veto power reformation through hegemonic position and the criterion for candidacy. As we know that you have to have a criteria in order to be regarded as a candidate. So significance of the study offers valuable analysis, of course, on South African foreign policy towards the United Nations Security Council reform. The significance of this research is to contribute to scholarly materials and closing of the existing gap. This study may offer better understanding of the South African foreign policy and its intention to be a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. The relevance of the study shall provide a comprehensive study of the possibility of South Africa being a member of the Security Committee against other contenders in Africa. Because it's not only South Africa that seems to have this ambition. There are other contenders, there are other competitors as well. The scope of this study: the study will essentially emphasize South Africa's foreign policy towards the United Nations Security Council. To a limited extent, it will focus on the stumbling blocks to South Africa gaining a permanent seat in the Security Council. Since this research was initiated last year, it is concluded that through the analysis of secondary data, it shall possibly take about 21 months to complete this study. The research design and methodology: this study will employ a single research method, namely the qualitative method of research. The qualitative method relies on different variables, such as the following: newspapers, reports, journals, scholarly periodicals, publications, theses, conference papers, articles, and other databases. The technique used in this study to acquire information is called the data analysis, as Blaise seems to indicate. The ethical considerations: the Northwest University Manual for Postgraduates guides on ethical consideration, and therefore this should follow. As Valley has stated that foresight of more issues may arise during the data analysis, and the researcher may have a self-reflected analysis on various stages of data examination. It is always critically important, and according to ethics, to watch some of the informal written discourse and personal judgments, and this is to avoid misinterpretation of the information acquired. The data collection and methods and data analysis, as you can see there. Data collection will be document analysis. This will be obtained by looking more into documents related to the topic, government documents, scholarly periodicals, and so on and so forth, to African National Congress foreign policy perspective, as well as the South African constitutions. The data collected will be analyzed by concentrating on the major concepts of the study, and the themes from the data collected should determine the findings, conclusions, and recommendations as well. Limitations of this: given the limited time frame, the process for analyzing the collected data may take long. I don't know if you'll be able to see, or you'll be able to see, I don't know if I'll be. On the literature review, South African foreign policy towards the United Nations Security Council needs the process of understanding, analyzing existing knowledge of this research. Venter has also said that on the 21st of September in 1998, Nelson Mandela said that the reformation of the United Nations Security Council must take place because in order to serve the interest of the world through the United Nations Security Council. But the definition of Web Dictionary defines the foreign policy as a strategic instrument that guides government activities, relationships, and interaction with other member states rather. On the 53rd of an African National Congress Youth League Elective Conference Report 2012, it makes it clear that South Africa would like to see foreign policy as an approach towards the United Nations Security Council reform. Larry also has outlined that Nigerians also bid and its criteria is imprecise. So as I mentioned earlier on, that also there are other competitors or other contenders. Spies has also indicated that Ezuleni consensus took place in 2005 through the General Secretary Kofi Annan, who was the General Secretary, had also initiated and intensified, launched the reform agenda. The EU adoption of the Ezuleni consensus might have energized South Africa's ambition or foreign policy towards United Nations Security Council enlargement. It goes on, guys. Magawani, scholarly, will encounter the term pluralism as a synonym to liberalism. Okumu also said that Okumu had a different perspective on this towards the reformation of the United Nations, because Okumu states that this ambition of the United Nations Security Council expansion and 2 permanent seats proposed for African states and other seats for other continents are only reigniting the past wounds. The competition that we talked about earlier. Minor also has said that in the past, this contention, this reformation was there in the past. From 1945, there were countries, there were states that also wanted it, the permanent seats and the veto power in the United Nations Security Council to be reformed. So this is not only happening right now. The framework of this study, we know that there are many theories in international relations, in foreign policies. There are many theories, that could be used to analyze what I'm analyzing, especially on the topic that you guys saw earlier. The liberalists believe that there are also other major actors besides states. As you know, the realist always says that the state is the main actor, but the liberalist, always says that there are also other actors. Bellis indicates that liberalism is a theory of both government within states and good governance between states and people and worldwide. Meaning that liberalism does not focus only or just on the states, but also there are other actors, internationally, individuals, and also as well as the states. So organization, I'm about to finish. Organization of the chapters. This study comprises of 5 chapters. Chapter 1 is the one we were doing. Chapter 2 is a literature review. Chapter 3 is a research methodology. Chapter 4 is data presentation analysis. Chapter 5 has a conclusion as well as the recommendations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. Now we have the audience concerning his presentation. Questions, observations? Yeah. Mr.
Is it Mr. Gabriel?
Gabriel.
Gabriel, okay.
First of all, I want to thank you for the presentation. But I must highlight, from your topic, you abbreviated the United Nations Security Council. You don't abbreviate. You give it a full, then you close bracket, then you do that. And secondly, you mentioned
Ezuleni consensus.
Ezuleni consensus. We don't know about it. We don't just assume your supervisor or the reader knows what is Ezuleni consensus. And then going to your literature review, you mainly focus or you mainly highlighted the I don't know why you should go back there.
Okay, let me just take it from him.
Okay.
What he's trying to say is that you only highlighted what other scholars have said. Where is the vacuum you want to fill? You've never created any vacuum. I think that is what he's trying to say there. Okay. Continue.
Yeah. Gabriel, did you is that what you wanted to say, Gabriel?
Sorry, I was talking to
No, the thing is that according to what Prof said, you highlighted the names of presumed authority concerning United Nations Security Council inclusion of Africa, but you didn't tell us in depth what are their contributions. Then where is a gap that you want to fill from the analysis of these scholars?
Okay. Is that what you're trying to say? Yes, bro. Yeah, continue with your questions.
Are you okay?
No, I'm okay.
You're okay for now.
Can I,
Okay.
can I call you later?
I call you later.
Okay.
Yes, Chilongo?
I'd like to make an observation on structure of
The proposal.
the proposal. I don't know, HDC, I don't know how they use the structure, but how they want the proposal structure. But to my knowledge, I think that your objectives must come before your research questions, because your objectives will inform how you will ask your research questions or how you will frame them. And then I think your literature review should come and your original framework.
You said objectives before
Yes.
research questions. All right.
And then your literature review, I think your methodology should come after your literature review and your framework should come before the methodology. But I'm not sure.
Literature review should come before methodology.
Yes. But I'm not sure. I stand to be corrected.
Okay, you may react to these two questions before we take another answer.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the, sorry, I was not taking names. I was lost in the limbo. Okay, cool. But I Gabriel, because I know you. Gabriel. Okay.
You are addressing.
Yeah, I'm addressing him first.
Everybody. Not
Oh, I'm addressing.
single,
Okay,
yeah.
not single person. Okay, on the abbreviation of the United Nations. Let me just go back. Huh? I think maybe I must correct that. Okay, fine. I did indicate there. So there is a United Nations Security Council. It's there. It's just that maybe you were busy doing something.
That is not what he's saying.
Oh, from
Say
my
that
topic.
From your topic.
Ah, okay. All right. Thanks. Okay, I'll correct that. Thanks. Honest learning consensus. Of course, I couldn't explain everything, so I'll correct that.
Can you explain what is winning consensus so that?
Okay, is learning consensus. Okay, is learning consensus.
Know what you are talking about.
All right. As learning consensus, it's in 2005, the African Union went to Swaziland to go and discuss on a reform of United Nations Security Council, and they had their proposal, and they also appointed about 10 member states. They call it the 10C, to try to follow up on the reform and the proposals that African Union had. Such as in having 2 permanent membership, and also that Africa should have at least 2 members, and as well as veto rights. So those are the things we discussed in Israel, though they had not indicated which is African state in Africa should have the permanent membership. Okay. That's what Israel consensus is, and you can see that it was actually after this gentleman, Secretary General Kofi Annan, had also energized and intensified the reformation of United Nations Security Council, of course. On a vacuum, on the literature review, thank you very much for your contribution as well. I will work on this. Okay, I'll work on this. I promise. I'll do my part. On the structure, the university has a structure. I mean the faculty. So I'm gonna go also and try to see what you have highlighted. Okay. Yeah, I think summarizes that. Thank you guys for your contribution. Yes, there's another contribution there.
Mr. Lutola.
Thank you. think it will help your proposal. If somewhere,
We can't hear you.
yeah, I think it will help your proposal if somewhere in the content you should try to explain or give us maybe a kind of a snapshot of what the criteria for this permanent membership entail. Then I also look at what you have in your methods of data collection. I think essentially it centers on documentary sources. For me, I don't know. I think it may not be sufficient for you to rely on documentary sources. Just for the fact that what you are working on is not like a theory, and probably you might need to identify relevant stakeholders from which data should be sourced. And specifically, there was no mention of what method of data analysis you're going to use. I really could not see that. So, these are my comments.
Let me just address, should I address now is?
Yeah, you may talk.
Okay. First of all, on the criteria, right? I want to ask you, like, you know, if you're also aware of the criteria that was used in the past, which was the victories, because all these 5 permanent members that are that are permanent members, they are basically victors of the World War II. All right, that's the criteria that they had. So at the moment, I cannot really be certain what criteria I need to explore. That's why I'm doing this research, in order to explore what are the criteria that, you know, because even if we use of Nigerian of saying that it has got a big population, or even if we use of saying that another country has contributed, or South Africa has contributed troops to the United Nations as a criteria, all these possible criteria might not be, you know, really, you know, relevant. You know? So I need to explore. That's why I'm doing this research. So I might not, you know, be certain if I need to basically do the research, you know, analyze and to make sure that maybe perhaps we can check what South African what criteria does it have and what are the criteria that exist. You know, I'll tell you something. Some scholars, I just forgotten. There was one scholar from Nigeria that said Nigeria, because of its population, you know, because of other items, you know, that it possibly can have, and also because Nigeria has got a big population of Africans. They said South Africa cannot have permanent seat because South Africa has also majority of the white people, white settlers. But there's another scholar, his name is Lere, also Professor Lere, also written that population cannot be used as a criteria for Nigeria to gain permanent seat. So I need to explore the criteria at the moment. On the method, you said that means what? Sorry, I beg your pardon. Can you just repeat that? What's not sufficient?
What you have, I can only see that you are focusing on documentary sources as your means of data collection, or maybe the data you are relying on. And I feel it's not sufficient for this area.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I'm gonna sound a bit rude. When you say documentary, there actually I mentioned that the databases that I'm gonna use, there are books, scholar books I'm gonna use, there are articles that I'm gonna use from journals. I mentioned the periodicals, there are constitutions. There are a lot of things that I'm gonna use. So it's not only. I'm not quite sure, but when you say documentary.
Maybe he's talking about.
Maybe you were trying to say secondary data.
Secondary data.
Okay, secondary data. Okay, all right. Okay, I'll definitely
talk to that.
I should talk to that. Okay, I should talk to you. Okay. Okay, so many questions now. I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you.
Mr. Kibini?
Yeah, thank you. Zama, trying to, what I told from my colleague, what he was trying to make you aware of, pertaining to that, what you are doing. I think you should visit at the UN buildings to really get the information on how this primary data to assist in secondary. And even if possible, since mostly the role that South Africa has been playing, somehow there is an information still in the military bases like in Pretoria to go, maybe if they can assist you, because some information is confidential, but they may be able to assist you in terms of having to get information pertaining to that and involve offices relevant with relevance information pertaining to that issue on the Security Council issues.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Yu.
When you mention was qualitative and then you focus on the documentary, it doesn't have qualitative. If my memory doesn't fail me, it's interviews, observations, survey, I'm not sure. But then interviews, you focus on primary data, that's where you source information. If you end up saying it's just documentary, then you end up doing a desktop research. You just sit on the internet and source whatever.
I beg your pardon? You said what?
I'm saying your documentary, you only choosing for your research, secondary source, it's not enough. Otherwise, you'll be doing a desktop research.
I'll be doing?
Desktop.
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 research, yeah.
What's
You
that?
just sit on the internet and then you source everything. Like you just get from what people. There's no contribution. Your contribution will come from your primary method of data collection. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think with your literature review, what can assist you is looking at the existing criteria for selecting states to sit on the United Nations Security Council, and then you critique that criteria in relation to your own study, as well as what you think should be what should be included in the criteria pertaining to African states.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Tebo.
Yeah, mine will be an advice to say maybe you should consult the final draft of the white paper on South African foreign policy. It will give you the perspective of South Africa in general. And the other thing is the issue of the permanent seat for Africa. It comes after the reform. The reform, the permanent seat has been demanded by Africa. It's a package of the reform that they are proposing. Therefore, the current criteria for them, it's immaterial. They say no. The UN Security Council is operating on the expired way of viewing the international system. Therefore, that should change, and then Africa should have those permanent seats. Meaning the current criteria they are not subjecting themselves to the current criteria, because their proposal of reforming the UN Security Council or the UN generally, it totally disregards the current status quo.
Should I? Okay.
What?
He's speaking.
You are not the one who's supposed to ask somebody to talk. It's me.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say?
Yes, I was not here when we started representing, but
You came very, very late.
But I would like you to assist you in terms of background on that issue of the seat for one African state in the United States Security Council. Remember that the running countries were previously three. Egypt was included, but the thing was the conflict that affected it, brought it down. And you try and gauge between Nigeria and South Africa, and don't only look at one aspect. There are so many aspects: social, economic, yes, and military capability in terms of having a seat in
Professor Victor.
Thank you, Maeshu. I have a lot to say. A lot. In addition, in addition to what everybody has asked, I'm not so sure of what you are doing. I have to start with the title. What do you actually want to do? Are you trying to look at South African position in regards to issue of being permanent member of Security Council? Or you are trying to evaluate South African foreign policy for a specific period towards United Nations? Because from here you are saying analysis of South Africa towards United Nations Security Council. Is it towards United Security Council permanent seats reformation, or you are trying to look at South African foreign policy towards the United Nations, or you are trying to evaluate South African foreign policy for a specific period of time? I'm still very, very confused. I don't know what you are trying to do. Then, secondly, when you look at your proposal, what is in front of me here, you said chapter 1, introduction and background of the story. Which chapter 1? Are you making reference to chapter 1, or you are making reference to the proposal? Then when you go to your statement of the problem, that is where I have a serious problem. Maybe can you go back to the statement of the problem? There are a lot of contradiction in what you have here. Your first line, you said South African foreign policy seems to have inconsistency. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth line, you were saying South African foreign policy is very clear. Where are you going? The first line, inconsistency. The fourth line, very clear. I don't really know what you are saying. Because when you look at what you have on the board, what is the problem? Which problem are you trying to address? Are you saying South Africa should clamor for a position at the United Nations Security Council? Or are you saying you want to look at South African foreign policy? What is foreign policy itself? Which period? I'm still very, that's why I'm saying, I don't actually know what you want to do. So your problem statement, I think, is still zero. Look at what you have on the board. Can you take us back there? Yeah. You can read it. It is the last, please can you move a bit? It is the intention of this research to analyze, is that what I'm doing? The possibility of South Africa to be a member. Are you trying to look at how South Africa will clamor for a position, a permanent position at the Security Council? Then when Mr. Tola asked you a question, you said you were trying to look at the criteria. Then where are you going? You don't even have a clear focus of what you are intending to do. Then in regard to your research question, look at the aim, the research question, the objective. I'm not so sure whether you are trying to look examine the hegemonic position of South Africa within Africa in clamoring for a position at the United Nations. If that is the case, you have to include other parts of which one of the speakers have just mentioned, political economy. You cited Professor Leary, the population. That is where you can cite that. Are you trying to look at South Africa's hegemonic position in clamoring for United Nations Security Council? Then when it comes to your presentation generally, most of them have mentioned literature review. You have a serious issue. You need to sit down and address your issues. And in terms of your presentation too, you have to rework. Make sure it's in line. Like the question Benga asked, you can have your research problem immediately after the statement of the problem. It's accepted. But you must make sure it's in line with the problem, because there's no problem at all. I can't see problem from it. But without a problem, you cannot do a research. What is the problem? So tell us the problem you are trying to do. Then you redefine your title. Then we'll take it from there. Then your research methodology, what are your research design you are trying to employ? I think somebody has also mentioned that. What are your research design? Okay, let me stop there for now.
Don't stop.
Then in terms of your organization of chapter, I think I have a serious concern too. Why not making it 4 chapters? Chapter 1, introduction. Chapter 2, literature review and theoretical framework. Chapter 3, data presentation, analysis and findings. Then chapter 4, conclusion and recommendation. Then for your ethical consideration, I think I will also advise you check your ethical consideration and you know what ethical consideration is saying. Then if you are trying to look at South Africa as clamoring for position within the United Nations, I think you need to do some, probably some interviews. Since you are focusing on South Africa, you go to Pretoria, Department of International Relations and other areas, you need to do interviews. That's why I ask you that question. What are your research design? There's no way you get to HDC that they will not ask that question. What is the problem? What are your research designs? Maheshwari, thank you for now.
My other contribution.
If you can address them to the satisfaction of your supervisor, accepted. But you must put into consideration all these issues. You have to go and sit down and rework.
Yes, Prof.
You need to sit down and rework. Redefine your title, your problem statement. Make it so concise and very clear. This is what, without a problem, there's no research. You must tell us the problem you want to do. Because there are a lot of contradictions, like the first line and the 5th line. One inconsistency, the 5th line, very clear. So,
Am I allowed to talk?
you can talk.
Okay. Thank you very much for my students and my colleagues that had more flesh to the quality of the document. From what you had, if we need to call a spade, there is a lot of work to be done here. The first one has to do with literature review. Like I told my supervisors severally, literature review is not, there's no shortcut to it. You need to read extensively before you put things down. Looking into the way you put your literature review, it is you have a lot to do. So I will, as the head of the program, I will suggest that after you finish this, then we recirculate it to our colleagues to look into it. If there's an improvement, then we can move forward. But if there's no improvement, you will be forced to come again for presentation at the departmental level. And if you want to do that, you need to sit down. It's not a question of coming back next week that you did everything. You need to sit down, you go back to the drawing board. You read extensively. What are the positions of each of your authority you claim you read a lot about them? And like I told you severally, when you want to review literature, to have a robust literature review, you need to process what several people say and categorize them into different schools of thought. By trying to do that, everybody will know that you know exactly what you are talking about. So I think that is where you are going to start. Then you have to equally read what is theory in international relations or theories in foreign policy. That one will help you to come up with a functional theory that is going to be used for this problem. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.